Hariyo. Hariyo. Hello, my friends. Often I say, just connect somehow or other. Connect, connect, connect. At the same time, it is clear we are always connected. Without that connection with the essence, nothing would be possible. No experience, no action, no perception, no thoughts, no feelings. Everything is totally dependent that that essence is there. And yet I say connect, connect, connect. In reality, we are connected, and in the conscious experience, we have forgotten that we are connected. We connect with so many things, with so many details in manifestations. We connect with our thoughts of the past, the future, with all the daydreams, missing the awareness of that living presence. Now, Mariano asked me, yes, you say always connected, and I'm trying to connect, and you say to stay connected. And especially the second part is difficult. What to do about it? It's good that everyone finds their own way how they are connecting most naturally, easiest. One way of catching the attention wherever it is roaming and bring it back. Sometimes people tell me that, but this bringing back is still a mental activity. Yes, because our attention is so totally caught up on the mental level that we have to come to that level to catch the attention and bring it back. What is actually this attention? It is this capacity in consciousness to focus on something, be it a sense perception, be it an object that we see, be it a thought, an emotion, a dream, anything. Consciousness has that ability to focus. This is the attention. And the attention is most of the time lost on the mental level. So we catch that attention on that level, and it is still a mental action to consciously turn it in the right direction. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. The same mind that creates that sense of separation and bondage, that same mind is being used to turn the attention back to the source and is liberating. The mind, this capacity to think, to focus, flowing on a current of prana, this mind that is not a thing, but simply there when it's active, is creating the sense of bondage, and that same mind is liberating. Yes, it is a mental action, catching the attention and bring it back. But as soon as you are in the present, the mind is not necessary. You are. You, we can just be, consciously be, consciously be in the present, consciously alive. Now Mariano asks how to connect, right? Find your way, your most natural way. My favorite way to consciously connect is to simply consciously breathe. It is here, it's now, it's not something that we are thinking about, it's not something that is in the past, in the future. A conscious breath puts you directly in touch with life. For me, this is the most simple and the most attractive way to go about it. For a long time, it was self-inquiry, and it's perfectly all right. It is a perfect way to connect. Who am I? It's not a question that gets an answer. It's a question that catches the attention and brings it back to the source. Right. Again. Consciously breathing is doing the same thing. Consciously feeling the divine presence, being in touch with God, in connection with God, is doing the same thing. All right, we just have to find a way which is the most natural, the most easy way for us, and then use it as much as we remember to do so. When we practice, when we sit for meditation, but also the whole rest of the time. Whenever that memory comes, connect. And then how do we keep it? Asks Mariano. How can we stay with it? The old habits, the old vasanas will drive the attention away again and again and again and again and again. That's how it goes. And the countermeasure is to consciously reconnect again and again and again and again and again and again. It helps if you consciously connect that at that moment, then you just relax, let go. Because if we do so, then there immediately develops a certain sense of well-being. And when that well-being, that sense of well-being gets stronger, then it's becoming more attractive and easier to stay with that conscious connection. As long as we look at it as another task to perform, so I have to connect. The mind always wants to go out anywhere, connect with anything else, but then no, I have to connect as a task. Then it's not attractive. But if we learn to connect and relax, then more and more when connecting, we start to experience that sense, that natural sense of well-being. And the more we are experiencing that, the more it becomes attractive, and the less it gives the feeling it's a task to perform, some kind of tapas. Yes, it is the highest form of tapas, but tapas doesn't mean to do something heavy, terrible to oneself, but it simply means to reconnect. So just connect and relax. And then you start to stay longer in that conscious sense of connection, in that sense of presence. It helps when we develop a certain amount of playfulness about it. Everything goes so much easier if we learn to be a bit playful about it. When we become aware, oh, my attention is all over the place except back at the source, then that we can take it in a playful way and not be pissed, oh my God, so much time has passed again, without being consciously conscious. That we just, instead of that, okay, there, I'm again gone, I just connect and relax in a playful, joyous way, and then it doesn't look like a terrible task to perform. It just means we have to intend that we remember. Because as long as we don't remember, we cannot do anything. But if that basic intent is there to remember that and to do that in a playful, beautiful way, then it stops being a heavy task to perform, but actually it becomes more and more attractive because it starts to fill your moment-to-moment experience with so much more joyousness and sense of fulfillment. But as long as we are so focused on everything else and think, yeah, if I do this, if I do that, then I'm getting a kick, then I'm getting happy, then I'm getting so many things, forgetting about that natural sense of well-beingness that is there in simply being connected here now. As long as that habit is strong and we always unthinkingly run after this thing, then it seems to be a task to perform that doesn't bring any joy, because somehow one feels I'm getting deprived of the little kicks of joy that I'm getting in my life. But this is an illusion. This is also an objection that we are conjuring up in the mind because we don't want to give up the old ways. If we sincerely go about it, we come to know we are not losing anything, in contrary. We are gaining everything. We are gaining the awareness that everything that we are looking for is already here. We simply are not conscious of it. So, how you connect, you have to know for yourself, Mariano. But when you connect, relax consciously. Connect, relax. Be aware how often burdens that we are carrying along and are not even quite aware that we are carrying them along, they start to drop off. And the immediate experience of the now is getting fuller, more joyous, and becomes more attractive. And when it's becoming more attractive, even on the mental level, it starts to become much easier. As long as we are on the mental level having a certain resistance of doing so, then it's very difficult to connect in one way or another. As I said, my favorite way to do so is simply breathing consciously. Breathe and relax. Breathe and relax. And it becomes joyous and playful and full of creativity and beauty. Okay, I'm leaving the subject and I'm asking you, my friends, is there anybody who would like to comment? You are welcome to do so.
Hi.
Hello, Andreas.
The connection between connecting and meditation. It's like meditation, constant connecting process.
You can say so. Meditation is just basically that, of connecting. It doesn't matter how you are meditating. There are so many different ways to meditate, but the essence, the point of meditation is exactly that we are consciously connecting. So when we sit down for meditation, then we do it more concentratedly. And when we get up for meditation, then we can learn to do it in spite of having also to give the attention to other things.
So, like, what is the connection between concentration or focusing and like a lot of times it seems that meditation is like something that deepens, and is, I mean, can you say something like about that?
The experience deepens and deepens if we learn to be more steady in being consciously connected. Whether you do that with intense will and concentration, or whether you just learn to be and relax, it doesn't really matter. Both come to the same. But then your conscious experience seems to become deeper and deeper because exactly that is happening, that you start to stay longer in conscious connection. Even in meditation, when we have a technique, then we have for a long time just little moments. When it's connected on the off, the attention goes already again. And as you keep on meditating, it becomes easier to stay consciously in touch. And the more that is happening, then the experience seems, the meditation goes deeper and deeper.
And what's about like special states of mind?
Like samadhi states, or
Yeah.
yes, then you can have all kinds of states that we are not usually having in our day-to-day living. They can then be mistaken if we are not careful that this is the essence, that this is what I am. But it's still an expression of what is. It's still an expression of the essence, but these kind of states, they are helpful because they are purifying. They're helping to loosen up the old habit that compels us to always run in all directions with the attention. So then there are schools who have a whole hierarchy of states one has to attain. And if one feels like following that faithfully, that may be helpful. But we can also not have any idea what kind of states that should happen and just be in the present as good as we can and be open, and then all kinds of experiences come. But these so-called spiritual experiences, these experiences of higher mental states, they are helpful, but it's good to remember, don't get obsessed with them and think that I must experience this, I must experience that, otherwise I cannot get anywhere. You can focus and have even a certain experience in mind, but then don't worry whether that experience is happening or not. If it is happening, it's inspiring, it's helpful, it's purifying. But that's what it is. It's an experience, it comes, it's there for a time, and it goes.
So connecting is much simpler.
Yes, connecting is simply turning the attention back to the source.
And you don't need to have that special states.
We don't need to. They will come more or less in different forms to anyone who sincerely keeps on doing just that, connecting, reconnecting, connecting, connecting.
Yeah, I think it doesn't seem to be very complicated, but took me such a long time to get it. I mean, at least understand what you are talking about, because I was so preoccupied by things I heard in Buddhism that made meditation sound something very difficult and complicated and like a long process that you have to get better in. And this connecting is something very simple and very immediate, right?
It is simple and immediate. What is complicated is our mind. And so they have created all kind of complicated paths to come to that simplicity. For most of the people, it is simply impossible to accept, even in the mind, that the simplicity of it could be enough. How could it be so simple? People have been doing sadhana and meditation for a long time until they got somewhere. So it cannot be so simple. We are trained, grown up in a society that gives us the feeling everything that is good, has any value, is complicated. And then that's a barrier that is difficult to let go, especially for the Western mind, because somehow it seems to be so difficult to accept that basically it's very simple.
That's difficult for me.
Right. And so you said it took you such a long time to even understand the simplicity of it. That means you have worked out a lot of stuff that you have been carrying along that prevented you to become aware of the simplicity of it. And now it's getting lighter, that burden that you are carrying. And then suddenly it seems right. Maybe the fellow is right. It's not so difficult.
No, I just didn't get it, you know. like like when, because first I was into Buddhist meditation retreats, and there they told me I have to uh, watch and observe my Vedana, the small feelings of pleasantness or unpleasantness. And this seemed to be very difficult, and all kinds of, or watched like the complete breath, and all these things made it seem very complicated. And I wasn't, yeah, nobody said to me, just be there,
Yeah.
relax, and be present. Only in Zen a little bit. They didn't give any instructions because they didn't want to mess it up.
Yeah, I see. Right. All these exercises you are describing, they are helpful to become aware what are the obstacles of simply being. And working on them is good to remove those obstacles. We can consciously go through a whole process of going from systematically from one thing to another, or we can just be as good as we can and observe what kind of obstacles come up and deal with them as they come up. Both is possible.
So sometimes I think all the more complicated or advanced states of meditation in Buddhism meant more for people who have already realized the presence, that they're like, they called stream enterers, if they have realized their like true nature or whatever you want to call it, and then they are taught how to deepen that in meditation. Is that something that makes sense?
Somewhat. It, it is true that when you are really easily, consciously connected, that you can concentrate, and with that concentration go very consciously in a certain direction. You need not do so. But these instructions you are describing, they are not simply meant for the people who are at that point. They are meant for the people who try to, to connect. Simply, instead of emphasizing that connect, they go a little bit the roundabout way, see what's going on in the mind and deal with it. But actually, in that way, without people being aware, they do start to connect.
Yeah, I was developing more mindfulness by doing that. That
Right,
is right.
right.
But yeah, sometimes it seems very absurd how long it took me to understand what you're talking about.
Well, time is relative. It may be long within when we look at it from the standpoint of the lifetime from the human perspective. From the standpoint of timelessness, and you are timeless, nothing is really long.
I still have to work on it.
And it doesn't really matter. Somebody does some practice and within no time, chuck, just gets it, and from there stays connected, and from there the expansion, the development of the experience goes very smoothly and effortless. And others, they may struggle a whole lifetime, but if then they still come to that point, it doesn't matter anymore whether it was short or long. At that moment, the past is gone and you are connected, and then you don't care whether it took long or whether it came fast.
In Buddhism, they have like factors of enlightenment, like energy and joy
Mhm.
and collectedness, mindfulness. Um, is this helpful, would you say?
Yes, it is helpful, but you can also not give much attention to those things. And if you are sincerely connecting, then these virtues start to manifest all by themselves. Or you can put your attention and have your whole list of virtues that you should develop and work on them. If somebody feels like doing so and feeling that's cool, these exercises are not in vain. They are okay. But if you don't feel like going into that and going step for step, or you have been going and don't feel like now to connect with that kind of teaching so much, then it's all right, because you just connect. And the more you are connecting, the more you are capable of relaxing in that conscious connection, the more these virtues that they are describing, they start to manifest by themselves.
Yeah, right now I have the impression I need something just very simple because, well, if it's something that if it's some kind of agenda that I have to work through, I always start to evaluate myself and the progress, and that is not very helpful because then I'm always watching me and judging me, which is one of my main obstacles.
Right, judging doesn't help. Judging just creates new tension. Yes, but if you feel that really you're open for simplicity, then I can guarantee you you are not missing anything if you are not going for all the complicated things. Be totally simple about it. Just breathe and relax, connect and relax. Wait and see what happens.
Can I ask a very simple question at last?
Yes, sure.
I'm not very familiar with self inquiry, but I always ask myself, shouldn't it be like what I am instead of who I am?
Right, you can say so. I used to have these same doubts sometimes, because thinking if I'm asking who am I, then I'm asking about the person. And if I'm asking what, it's more abstract, it's more impersonal. But this is again total a mind game, because the question is not that we finally find somebody, that we finally find the guy. The question is just exactly what I have been talking about, a means to connect the attention with its source. And there, the who or what or whatever does not matter at all.
Okay.
But if you do self-inquiry and you feel more comfortable with asking what instead of who, then that's perfectly valid.
Okay.
Okay. Shall we leave
Thank
it
you.
at that? Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
Hari Om. Hari Om.
Mhm.
Is there anybody else who would like to come? You're welcome to come in.
Hello, Werner.
Hello, Dayal.
I want to ask you how to combine Vipassana practice with self-inquiry. Now I practice in Tiruvannamalai in good surrounding, and it's working better. So I start usually with observing respiration, and in the morning I can observe it. Usually I feel breathing in, breathing out, aware it, little thought, but not so much disturbance. And then after 1 hour sitting still, tension builds. Some pain in my legs started, some tension inside. So, and in Vipassana, we call it Sankara. So it can be some sensations, emotionally charged, and it can bring some story from the past. It may not, but still it's disturbing my practice. So I feel something like, oh, this is pain. So I wanted to move. I wanted to open my eyes. So it's kind of distractions on the way. And on Vipassana way, they advise it, just say, this is anicca. It's just for sometimes. This pain will pass away. Everything will pass away. Everything is anicca. But I'm not very successful with understanding anicca. And then now I'm using self-inquiry. I ask, who cares about this pain? Who worries about this? And it helped me to stay in the body. I understand, yes, the body have the pain, but it doesn't matter for me. I can stay equanimous and relax and understand the pain. It's natural way of the body, but I should not worry about this. So, and I continue working like this sometime, more or less successful, but I think it's working somehow for me. If I'm able not to react with this pain and just observe it by self-inquiry, I think it's helpful to me.
Yeah.
So one question is, are you confirming this way of practicing? And another question, then I will ask why Buddha not teaching self-inquiry? Because Buddha have anatta, this means no self, means similar things that we realizing when we asking who am I? We see there is nobody inside, nobody cares, no person. So can you speak about this different approach to work with Sankara, Vipassana way is anicca, and Buddhist way as anicca, and Ramana Maharshi way of self-inquiry. There's nobody to worry about these Sankaras, nobody to attach to it. Can you speak about this a little bit?
Okay. The first question, yes, definitely. If you feel this helps you, this combination, by all means, continue doing so. It's not at all that because you did Vipassana, it's wrong. if you bring in other aspects, and if you feel that it's helpful for you to combine your Vipassana practice with self-inquiry, that is perfectly valid. Now, why did the Buddha not teach self-inquiry, but said there is no self? Because when he used the word that is translated with self, he didn't mean the same that what Ramana means when he talks about the self. When he sees, when Buddha talks about the anatma, in Sanskrit, it's translated as anatma. In Bali, you used another word,
Anatta.
anatta.
Anatta
Right.
in Pali. Pali, yes.
Right. But actually, the Buddha himself, he didn't talk Sanskrit and he didn't talk Bali. He talked his native dialect called Magadin, I think, and it was later translated, much later translated. So we don't really know what the Buddha exactly said. And it was after that translated by scholars who created all those systems. And then this anatta or anatma of the Buddha is not referring to what Ramana is calling the self. When Ramana talks about the self, he simply means the essence, the being, the atma. And when Buddha uses the word or translated in Sanskrit, the anatma, is not referring to that essence, but he's referring to the person, that the person is not, has not a real existence. It's only there as long as we keep it alive with all our thoughts and attachments. And so in that sense, then the no self is true. But then the no self doesn't mean, it doesn't refer to what Ramana Maharshi calls the self. That's why that confusion is there. Why says the Buddha there is no self, and Ramana says we should realize the self, become aware of the self, and everything is the self. Because he means with that self the essence. And the Buddha means in that context with the word self, the person, the ego, the momentary appearance, the reflection of the self, actually.
But I ask him.
No teaching is telling the truth. No teaching can really define reality. However beautiful the teaching, however sophisticated the teaching, it's a pointer to something that cannot really be put in words. And so even the great teachers, they seem to contradict each other because people listen to the words and hope to understand and get it, thinking that the word is defining truth, but the word is not defining truth. The word is simply pointing at the truth that is prior to the possibility to put in words. Still, the teaching is helpful because it puts the attention in the right direction. And if we learn to open the heart to the teaching, then we can more and more connect to that space where the teaching is coming from, and then we can see all those apparent contradictions in the highest teachings. They don't matter because they are just different ways of putting words together to point to something that cannot be put in words.
Yes, Werner, but I ask him not about definition, but about method working with Sankaran.
Yeah.
So definitely a method of Ramana Maharshi, when you ask him who is worried about it, yeah, who is aware of it, it's bring you back and you not attach anymore to these Sankaras. Buddha method is understand this all temporary, it's not for all the time, not take it serious, maybe I would say. Yeah, it's two different approach for problem, yeah, let's say sankara or any problem in our life. So Buddha say, don't worry, it will pass away. Ramanujan will say, but who cares? For whom is this coming as a problem? So it's very two different approaches. And I think maybe I missing something that I not understand approach of Buddha. So that's
Don't worry.
my
Don't worry. They are not as different as they appear. If you just look at the words, they seem to be very different. But actually, both ways, they are just means that you are loosening up the attachment to whatever problem that is there. Whether you tell yourself it's temporary, it's always passing, it's always changing, or whether you are loosening up that attachment by saying, but who is experiencing that? What you have to do is in both cases that you have to let go of it instead of being fixed and obsessed with it. You can very well bring the two together and they are not contradictory.
yeah, maybe it doesn't work for me when it is a real pain, as we have on Vipassana courses. I say, yes, it's anicca, but doesn't matter, it's paining right now.
Yeah.
It's a real problem now.
Right.
Yes, I don't want to wait a few days when it passes away. So it doesn't work for me. But I think they working more deeply when you observe these sensations. You come the stage that's becoming, all the body feels like um, vibrations, like energy, and this feeling of energy throughout of the body, it can bring state of anatta without asking who am I. Just you feel there is nothing, there is everything changing, vibrating. Maybe I don't know. So that's my idea how Buddhists come to this anatta state.
Well, but you say somehow it doesn't work for you when you are in pain, then tell yourself it's temporary. But then you try now to do rather the inquiry, and that helps you more to detach. And if that is happening, then by all means do it with inquiry. And you can very well, it's not that because of that you're becoming unfaithful to your Vipassana practice. You can still continue your Vipassana practice. But then if you bring the inquiry into it, then it's actually not anything bad, but in contrary, it's enriching your practice. Then it becomes more and more your way of going about it than the way somebody has prescribed, and you have to strictly follow it to the letter.
Yes, it seems to me I find my own way and it's working somehow for me. So I just want to check it out. And another things I want to ask you about in Buddhism, Buddha said first noble truth is suffering. That suffering is in our life, and on Vipassana courses we speak about it. When you're facing the pain, real pain in your body, you realize this first noble truth that suffering in this life, it's difficult to avoid it. It's all the time going with the body. It seems should be like this. In body always will have suffering. Whatever you do or not do, it always will have suffering. And when I am accept, body means pain. So I not expect anything, but maybe I not the body. So it's another way of freedom. So can you talk about this realizing suffering in meditation?
Suffering is also a word we have to be clear what we mean with it. And when I use the word suffering, then I mean that mental anguish that we are creating by resisting against the fact of what we are experiencing. But as long as there is a body, sometimes there is pain. that is unavoidable. But that's not what the Buddha meant when he says, as the first noble truth, life is suffering. He just looks and sees how people live and see that everybody is suffering most of the time. But then we don't have to start with the first of his noble truth. The second is already explaining. It is because of Krishna, because some people translate it as desires, but it's more than desire. It's attachment, it's greed, it's being obsessed with it that I need in order to be happy, and that is creating the suffering. So we getting rid of that suffering means that we have to learn to let go and not hold on to our ideas, how things should be in order that I can be happy, but accept that many times they are different. And if that acceptance is there, then one stops suffering. Still, the body will sometimes hurt. That's on the physical level unavoidable, but you won't suffer. Then you accept the pain, you deal with it, you let it go.
Thank you, Werner. Thank you. It's becoming more and more clear.
Very
Carry on.
good. Great. Hurry home. Hurry home. Is there anybody else who would like to come in?
Hi, it's me again. If that's okay.
That's okay.
I mean, in the pain in Buddhist retreats is for me always an Übung to try to not have any resistance against it, which I usually do. And then I have the resistance, and then my way of resisting is usually to dream off into some states and lose the now. And isn't like the whole practice to just be with the pain, not have any resistance, and just be there and see that the pain in itself is bearable?
Right. It's not the meaning that you should strive to find more and more ways to somehow dream of that you can bear take the pain easier. But it's if you can accept pain, it's a very powerful way of connecting in the present. And actually, if you can, in that acceptance, learn to relax in the pain, then suddenly the pain disappears and is not more there.
Okay, that was what I wanted to clarify.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to come in? You're welcome. Okay, let's say something more about that pain. And it's very much in different Buddhist teaching has also different schools, and they differ quite a lot from one another. But in more than one schools, this is quite a big part of it, to learn to sit, and then you still continue sitting when it starts paining instead of relaxing and adjusting the body. It is not for everybody. For some people, this is perfectly all right, and it's good to learn to develop a certain self-discipline, that we are not, with any little ache that springs up in the body, immediately think that we have to move and adjust, that we can sit it out. And what I just said to Andreas, if we can accept the pain and then relax in the pain instead of getting more and more tense, then without doing something, suddenly the physical pain may disappear. And actually the whole action of being aware of the pain, accepting the pain, relaxing in the pain has brought us very much deeper in our own resources, getting more firmly connected with that essence. But if somebody doesn't function like that, then it doesn't mean we have to go through that. This is a way, this is an approach, but some people may hear this kind of stuff and think, no, I don't want to have anything to do with that, that I have to sit until it pains and then have to continue sit and pain, more pain. This dealing with pain and then still sitting it out and not adjusting the body, not getting up, not lying down, not moving around to get rid of the pain is one way of very strongly connecting with the essence. That's what I have been talking in the beginning. We have to find one way or another to connect with that essence. But if that is acceptable for somebody, fine, great. Many people have really gone all the way through with all these Buddhist techniques that sometimes have to deal with pain. But if that is very unappealing for somebody, then it doesn't mean we have no chance because somehow or other we have to go through that pain. What matters is not how much pain we can endure. What matters is how capable we are to powerfully connect. And for some people, it's not the thing to sit a lot. I think it helps everybody, even if they are not natural meditators, if they have every day some time where they are just sitting still, doing nothing, and connect, bring the undivided attention in the present and connect very consciously, very powerfully. But then for most of the people, it's not the way to push that on and increase the time and increase the time, but more have these moments in the day, maybe different moments in the day, where one sits for some time very still, connects strongly, and then again is active and somehow tries to keep that connection as good as they can. So it is not because we have now talked a lot about pain that it means everybody has somehow or other to sit and learn to endure the pain and not move and endure it longer and not move and endure more of it. This is one way to go about it. And if one does that consciously and without resistance, it's very helpful. But it's not the only way to connect. We can just ask, who am I? We can just breathe consciously. We can relax before we have pain. But in that relaxation doesn't mean that we have to become lazy, but be very diligent in keeping the attention connected. And then this is perfectly valid. So don't get afraid that everybody has to somehow torture themselves with a lot of pain. It is good to develop a certain amount of self-discipline, but everybody has to find for them the natural equilibrium, how much it is healthy for me to push and how much it is healthy for me then not to push any farther, but to take it easy, relax, but not take it easy in my sincerity to connect. That is the thing sometimes people don't understand when I say relax, 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 that there is a bit the idea that has this a certain laziness. It's not. I think what is needed is sincerity, and that is the opposite of laziness. Sincerity means to always keep on categorically, when we become aware how disconnected our experience is, to somehow reconnect again. And then different people are different, and for some it works very well to go into this like Zen sessions and sit the pain out, to go into Vipassana retreats and sit the pain and sit with the pain and learn through the pain to detach instead of getting obsessed with it, to relax instead of getting more tense. And this is certainly a very powerful way of going deeper, but it's not the only way. If that is not appealing, people need not think, oh, they still have to go through that kind of stuff. Just develop for yourself your own natural balance between discipline, between pushing a bit, and rather take it in a more gentle and relaxed way. Okay. Again, I'm asking, is there anyone who would like to say something? You're welcome to come in.
Hello, Werner.
Hello, Nelly.
Thank you for reminder that you said in the beginning about the connection, and now what you said about working with pain. I go on learning to do it. Yes, and here in Tiro I have more time and more motivation for meditation. Yeah. And I work with pain in my first chakra because I just like have some spasm there, and when I feel some fear or some anxious thoughts, I feel this tension. Or even if I don't have anything, yes, it's like a habit.
Mm-hmm.
And I sit and watch it and try to relax. And today I watched, I was wonder that today I felt more relaxed than when I came here and began to meditate more. And first I felt a lot of tension, so everything was tense. Yeah. And I gratitude to you about this reminder all the time about that connection. Now I see that I have less doubts that I maybe do something not right in my meditations as I had before, always. Yeah. Now I see that in spite of I don't have a clear results, but a monkey came. You see, monkey came.
I've seen the feet of him.
Really? Yeah. Oh, they are coming.
Don't worry. If you do mind your own business, they will not do you any harm.
Okay. It was one of my questions to you. Okay. So I finished this that I wanted to say. Yeah. Yes, that I yes, I had a lot of doubts before, and now I see that I have less of them. Even if I don't have many clear results, but I have motivation. Yes.
Yeah. You mentioned
yes.
He took your water bottle.
It did it before already.
Oh, so it's already his.
They already were here and took a bottle, so it belongs to them already. Yeah.
Yeah. You talked about that pain in your first chakra, and I remember you talked about it earlier, and obviously it's still coming, and sometimes it's disturbing you. Is that so?
Yes. Yes, it comes. It's like a very old habit to be. It's like it seems to me that it's like my body reacts.
Are you scared?
Really, not so much. I took a stick, but there are so many of them.
Yeah,
I really was afraid of monkeys, but now I don't afraid as usually.
yeah,
I don't know why. Because they already came here to me and took my bottle, and I had to return my bag. They took my bag, thought that something good for them in it, but it was empty.
yeah.
I took a stick and frightened them a little, and they gave it back. But now they came again. I just don't know.
Do you have your stick with you?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. They are having respect of that. That's the thing that monkeys do. They try to scare you, and if you are scared, then they have power over you. If you show them that you are not afraid, then they don't
Oh,
really do you anything.
okay. But there are so many of them, really.
Anyhow, if it's too much, better maybe go into the room, huh?
Yes, I think it's better to go
Yeah.
because I am on the roof of in Ramanashram.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Okay. I try to go maybe
Yeah, yeah.
to go
So,
low. Maybe there is their area, but they don't want me to go. Okay, maybe I stay here a little and maybe come.
shall I talk to you later?
Okay, yeah. Okay, yes, I will come later. Okay.
Okay. Then I
Okay, thank you, Werner.
let you find the most secure space, and then
Okay,
I
thank you,
say
Werner.
something
Okay.
about what you said, huh?
Yeah, okay.
Is there anybody who would like to come in between?
Hi, Werner.
Hello, Nava.
Since we're talking about pain, I wanted to ask about my experience, which is different. I keep hearing that if you don't resist, the pain will go.
Mm-hmm.
And my experience is that even when I've sat and let's say my back hurts a lot.
Yeah.
And if I don't resist it, and if I actually really focus on it, it's like being present. And then I start to feel, I've actually felt joyous at times, even when the pain is there.
Yeah.
And I couldn't quite explain it, but that's happened to me.
Yeah.
So could you comment on that?
You think this is a bit crazy that there is pain and then there can be joyousness? No,
Yes.
Actually, it's not at all. But if there is pain and you accept the pain, then you are for cutting the usual way of the me personality how to react. The usual way of the me personality of the ego is to, there is pain, no, there should not be pain, do something about it, and try to avoid it at all costs. And then the very fact that then you say, okay, I accept the pain, is cutting through all that personal stuff and connects you with your essence. And your essence, an aspect of it, is pure joyousness. And then if that joyousness comes in spite of the pain, that means you have actually used that pain very wisely, because you get closer to really dive into your own essence, and there is joyousness. It's nothing strange about it.
Just not what we expect.
Not what you
Right,
expect.
right. So it changes the whole, for me, the whole picture of what to expect. I used to think that, you meditate long enough and you connect long enough and you're always happy and you're always, but this is something totally different. That presence can be, it can be joyous. It can also be difficult. It can also be painful, but it's presence. I'm trying to figure that one out.
Right. Basically, better don't expect anything, but just connect and see what happens. Because when we have expectations, then we often making new barriers like this. Then we do something, and then that expectation is there what should happen, and this creates a barrier that maybe prevents from what wants to happen to come to the surface. Being in the present doesn't mean that always on all the levels it is pleasant. And it can be very unpleasant. But then you can come to know that in spite of the unpleasantness of the situation, there is a joyousness if we are not stuck with that resistance, with the unpleasantness of it, because that joyousness comes from the source and that is not affected by anything that is there. So it's not that you have to somehow train your mind to be always in a happy state. It's more that the more we disconnect, detach from the mental level with all its reactions and turn the attention to the source, that joyousness will be more and more present naturally in your life. And the experience of it will become more intense and more intense as the time is passing.
So you are still saying that, though, that joyousness becomes more frequent. And this is exactly what I'm asking. You see, I think I spoke about this a little bit last week, and I keep doing this throughout the day. I will stop just for a moment and ask myself, how am I right now? And it tends to surprise me because there's what I think is happening, and then I go deeper and deeper, and there's just seems to be so many levels of what I'm feeling. And the thing that often surprises me is at the deepest level, there's joy.
Yeah.
And it contradicts everything else that I I sense about myself.
Right. Right, you said us, so I confirming that joy will be more and more there. Right, actually it is never absent. We simply are not aware of it. It's like being fixed on all the tensions that we are creating on the mental levels, on the energetic levels, on different levels. Those tensions prevent us to be aware that there is joyousness all the time. To become, sometimes traditions promise that we are eventually in a state of perpetual bliss. of, right. And then people have a wrong notion that we have to work for that and create somehow that bliss, and eventually we are perpetually in an ecstasy. But ecstasy is also an experience. It comes, has a peak, it goes. But there is something else which is simply an aspect of existence, something which I would call a peaceful joyousness, which is simply there, which is never actually absent. It's an aspect of life, of the essence, of consciousness, of love, which is always there. But we simply are not aware of it. And what is remaining, if we are removing the obstacles, is not a perpetual ecstasy, but a perpetual awareness of the joyousness of existence, the peaceful joyousness of existence. And as the time is passing, the experience of it is getting more powerful, more intensive. It's always there. It's never absent, but we have learned to cover it up, and then it needs a bit work to learn not to do that anymore.
Mhm. That in one way, I know that experience that you're talking about, and then there's the other side of it that is confusing for me, because then I ask myself, what's real?
Mhm.
What's real? Is it that I am anxious, or I'm tense, or whatever, or because it's almost as if they exist side by side, and that doesn't make sense.
I mean, all those states, those fleeting states, anxiety, and a certain type of happiness that comes and goes, and the pain, and the joyful expectation. These are all states, they come and go and come and go, and they have a momentary reality as an experience. But the content of that experience keeps on changing all the time. And if you want to use the word real, then it's more, you can use it more for that which stays. And that joyousness, it's not the reality, it's an aspect of reality, but it's there all the time. It's never absent. And in that sense, yes, that joyousness is real, is much more real than the other mental states. They have a momentary reality as an experience, but they come and go and change all the time. The joy that or the pain, the anxiety that you felt a moment ago is now no more real. It's gone. It's simply real as a memory. But then we hold on to it and have an after effect and think, it was terrible, and feed a lot of emotion into it again now and give it a reality that it doesn't deserve. It has a momentary reality as an experience, and after that it's just a memory, and we can hang on to it and boost it up into a reality, but actually it doesn't deserve that reality. It's not that real, it's just a memory. But if we do so, we are missing there that intensity of the reality that is, the timelessness of the now, hanging on to what has happened or expecting for the future. Then we're missing that point, that only point where we are really touching reality that is here now. All else is in the mind. But here now, the experience of anxiety has a momentary, a flicker of reality, but it's you who give it the reality because you are experiencing it. And as soon as the experience is gone, it's a memory. It has no other reality. Whereas that which makes the experience possible is there all the time. And an aspect of that is what I call a peaceful joyousness. So that peaceful joyousness has another degree of reality than all those mental states that change all the time.
So it says to me that when I feel that joy, I should not push it away as if it's unreal.
Right.
Because I think that happens a lot. Yeah.
Yes. And then
Yeah.
you even may start to argue in your head, this is crazy. I'm having pain and there is joy, that something is wrong. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. Dive in that joy, relax in
Okay.
that joy. And by all means, don't try to push it away. Okay.
Thank you.
Very good. Hariho. Hariho. Nelly, are you still there? Are you in a center?
Yes, yes, Werner. I'm here. I hope I'm more safe now.
Yeah.
I went below.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
I hope I will not be so interested of them by them. I hope, yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of the challenges in India for me, this monkey.
Yeah.
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 When I have my breaks in Ramanasham and want to eat some fruits, I am afraid that they may come and bite me. I don't know if they really do it, but I heard that sometimes they can bite. And yes, I have some
they
fear.
can, but then learn to see that fear and let go of that fear. And nothing wrong carrying a stick if you are in a place where the monkey is coming all the time. You don't have to beat them, just you threaten them. If they feel that you are afraid, they are naughty. They come and harass you endlessly. But if you show them that you are not afraid of them, then they are losing the interest in you. Yeah.
Even if I don't have a stick, they can.
Right. You make and fight and how and like they doing amongst themselves, and then they get respect and are more careful. But if they feel that you are afraid, then they becoming very naughty.
Okay, I try. Now I had this experience. I got what I was afraid of, and I see that it's not so frightened as I thought to be among monkeys.
No.
But I had a stick. Yes, I threatened them a little, and they didn't touch me. Yeah. Okay.
Actually, it's the same thing with negative influences on more subtle levels. If we are afraid of them, then they have power over us. If we learn to see them but not be afraid, then they cannot really harm us. And with the monkeys, it's a bit the same thing.
Yeah.
Shall we come back to one point? I wanted to say something about that pain you were talking. You call it in the first chakra. You mean at the bottom of your spine. And it's something that has come and bothered you often. So one aspect is treat it like what we have been talking about it. Like when the pain comes, instead of struggling with it, accept, okay, it's there. And try, instead of getting all tense, to relax. Then I would recommend you do an exercise and see whether it helps. That you're sitting and then that pain comes at the bottom of your spine, and then with your breath, you go up in the spine on top of the head. And when you breathe out, you go again down to the bottom. And when you breathe in, you go again up to the top of the head. Or if you prefer, you can come to the top and focus in the third eye, if that is easier. And you breathe out and you go again down to the bottom where it's paining, and you breathe in and you come up again. See whether it's possible, if you do that for a moment, for some time, that the pain disappears. You are somehow muted. I don't know how it happened, but your microphone.
Yes. Yeah,
now I hear you.
Yeah. Thank you, Werner. Yes, I tried. Yeah, little by little, it becomes, the tension becomes less, but very, very small. Very, yes.
Anyhow, this exercise may ease it up a bit.
Okay, and I have another question. About another. I have another challenge in India. It's when I cross streets, I really afraid of crossing streets. Even if I cross on the crosswalk, but the cars don't stop.
The crosswalk doesn't mean anything here, so don't.
Yes, it doesn't mean anything.
No, don't rely on that. You
I
have to
don't,
rely.
but yeah.
You have to rely on your own alertness. But yes, I mean, you can deal with the fear also when you are not at the road. Then you remember you're crossing the road and the fear that you are feeling. And then that memory brings that fear up. And then you learn to accept that fear, feel that fear, what it is doing in your body, and learn to relax. And then gradually you overcome the fear. And then when you overcome the fear, then you feel more secure and it's easier to cross. Doesn't mean you have to become careless. You better take care when you cross the road in front of the ashram or anywhere. And yes, don't rely on any rules of traffic. They don't exist here. They paint like a place where you can cross, but nobody gives any attention to that. So be alert and look good, but if you are afraid, then you are also inviting more trouble. So deal with that fear, and you can start to deal with that fear when you are not on the road, but when you are at home or in the ashram and you remember crossing the road, you remember how you felt, and you learn to see that fear, accept that fear, see what it is doing to your experience and relax, and then that way let go. Then, when you remember, and then gradually the fear will get less and less, and then at the end you're not more afraid crossing the road.
Okay, thank you, Werner.
You're welcome.
Hari Om.
Hari Om, Hari Om. If you like, we have still some more time. Is there anybody who wants to come in? I think Niels is saying goodbye. Has to go to work. Sends a hand for us to see. Is there anyone else who would like for a short question to come in?
Or Werner, maybe I will ask another question if nobody wants.
Yeah.
If somebody wants, then I will not. So, but if nobody, why not?
Okay,
So,
come in.
recently I see a movie about teenager crime, and in my teenager time, it was really a lot of crime around.
Yeah.
So, and now I see so much suffering that some children may have in the life.
Yeah.
And I also afraid if I come back to another reincarnation, how to avoid this suffering that is possible. So, and maybe you know some secrets how to avoid suffering for next life in general, because it can be different type of suffering. But for example, in Buddhism, they said just do some good things and don't worry, nothing bad with you will happen. Maybe you will give some advices how to not afraid next life suffering.
Yes. How not to be afraid of the suffering that you could meet in the next life. By focusing on the now. You don't have to develop strategies what you can do in order that you maybe have enough good karma, that you may have nice circumstances in a future incarnation. Maybe you don't need to come back. So why should you worry? But if you are really living now, consciously in the present, then this is by far that the best thing you can do for the future. But if you start to develop these kind of thoughts and hang on to it and think, oh my God, look at how many children are suffering. And then if I have to incarnate again, I have to go through that suffering too. Then actually in that way, you are through being afraid and through thinking that you should do something about it and worrying about it, you're bringing rather a negative in the current that rather would invite such a thing. So what to do when these kind of thoughts come? Then let these thoughts come and see what they are doing, but deal with them now. Don't try to develop strategies how you can deal with the future life. The future life is simply in the mind. You are only real right now. All else is in the mind. Any future incarnation is totally in the mind. Any past incarnation is totally in the mind. But you are now. And if the thought comes with fear of the future, of an incarnation in the future, then don't try to go along with that fear and do some kind of very strategic things that somehow that you can ensure that you have a better incarnation. But then the best you can do for the past, for the future, for the timelessness of yourself is to deal with that fear now, to deal with that fear in such a way that it disappears, that you become aware it doesn't make any sense at all. So let the thoughts come, see what they are doing, let the emotion come along with the thoughts, the fear, the imaginations, what could happen, the bad things that could happen, but see what it is doing to you right now and learn to relax that, learn to let that go. And then suddenly the whole question disappears, what to do about the future life. The best thing you can do for the future in this life or any future life is to live now consciously conscious.
Okay, thank you. And I would like to confirm that all suffering in my life was pushing me towards spirituality, towards spiritual way.
Right.
So I should not be afraid of suffering. It will be helpful, maybe. So,
Right.
okay, thank you very much. Hari Om.
Okay. Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om. All right, my friends, let's round up the satsang like this. And just what Dayal, you may see the name Mikhail. He has an Indian name, Dayal. But Dayal just said, yes, suffering is often helping us to come to the spirituality. Because we are fed up with suffering, then we try to find ways to live without suffering. As long as we keep on resisting and resisting against facts, then suffering will be there. If we stop doing that, then gradually the suffering disappears. Nobody compels us to suffer. We don't have to continue suffering thinking, suffering is good, it makes me more spiritual. If you are conscious, if you are in the present, if you see I'm creating suffering with my resistance by not accepting the fact of the experience right now, then suffering is inevitable if I'm holding on to that. But if I see that I'm doing that and let that go, then I need not more suffer. Nobody compels us to suffer except we ourselves. We may have to face unpleasant situations. Sometimes we may have to face terrible situations. If we don't resist, if we accept them and deal with them, then they may be painful, momentary, but they don't create that mental anguish that I'm calling suffering. We need not suffer. But as long as we are refusing to accept that we are creating it ourselves in our mind with our resistance, suffering is inevitable, and then often suffering helps us to develop that yearning to go beyond it. And in that sense, it is also not useless, but we don't have to go on suffering on and on, this life, next life, the other life. If we are fed up enough with suffering and see how we are producing it, we can learn to let it go. And as we are letting go the habits that produce it, then we can live without suffering. I wish you all well. Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om.